Welcome to the Healing Church's first 2022 Rhode Island Republican Statewide Office Candidate Forum Series. I'm your host, Alan Gordon, and for our first forum, we'll hear from two candidates, Rey Herrera for governor and Paul Pence for lieutenant governor, running separately from one another. This is exciting unto itself because, well, we're one of the states where the governor and lieutenant governor don't run together, don't work together, and don't answer to each other or anyone else. And this has been a theme of many past campaigns and will crest again this election cycle. We'll learn more about that and other issues in this, the first episode of the first series of GOP candidate interviews. And now, here's our MC, Ann Armstrong, with the first issue, education.
Greetings and welcome to our first ever candidate forum. We have with us today Paul Pence and Rey Herrera, both Republican candidates for office. Rey is a declared candidate for governor, and Paul is a declared candidate for lieutenant governor. And we are here to learn more about how they can work together to make Rhode Island a better place to be.
Well, I want to talk about the schools and how I plan to put the cameras into the gaming and get the schools elevated to where the kids, they want to go to school, they want to learn, and a way to fund the schools by themselves without taking away from the state's budget.
Okay, put some details into that. Specifically, what do you plan to do?
Well, we could televise the basketball games, we could televise the football games, we could make an app where the kids could watch these things where that brings it so they want to go to these apps, and these apps will also teach them educational things. So what happens in the mix of it, you'll learn different things as you're scrolling through the apps.
Paul, what's your reaction to that? How do you feel about more screens in schools?
Well, we have to admit the screens are there whether we want them to be or not. Not too long ago, it was an amazing thing for a high schooler to have a cell phone. Now, my quasi-grandchild, who's 8 years old, has his own cell phone and laptop and an iPad and whatever the school requires him to use. So it's here. And it's good to take advantage of every resource. Just like I wouldn't tell the current teachers that they couldn't use video projectors. They've got to go back to handing everything out as ditto sheets. You know, it is ridiculous to try to hold to the old methods, especially when the children nowadays their brains operate at video game speed. So we do need to recognize that. And children will not go to learning tools if they are strictly learning tools. So yes, incorporating the sports events and other things that they want to be engaged in into whatever applications that are handled by the school is a very good addition to such a thing. One of the challenges of such a thing, though, is that we will be having socially disadvantaged children having trouble accessing these things. So we would have to be able to facilitate this and make it possible that everyone can be engaged through it.
Rey, how would you get technology into the hands of those right now least able to afford it?
Well, right now you can access an Xbox for $100, you know, and we're trying to step away from the situation we are right now with the children where we're ranked almost dead last in New England, and we want to bring them to a better place, you know. So what he said is true, you know what I mean. We need to bring these children and educate them more. And the way, what you said about like socializing children, how they will come to like social, well, it gives even children who aren't athletic a way to participate now because they can participate virtually.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And now the teacher, the kids don't have to buy new clothes, things like that. For school, we're spending more than $300 on our children to go to school each year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just to get them prepared, and that's what a virtual reality system will cost, $300. So if we put that into perspective and we spend that $300. Now we're not buying them kids. Our kids are creating their own avatars. They're being more creative, and they're socializing with people more of what they enjoy the most. You know what I mean? Because they're looking for things and what they the way they're learning and things like that. We can create an algorithm to bring these kids together that would interact together more, and they would through the gaming you can talk to each other. So. Yeah. You see a character, you're not now judging this person by how they look or how tall they are, what color they are. You don't see that. You see an avatar.
Are you suggesting that schools should be carried out in the metasphere?
Well, not completely, because you got to think about the special education system. We have children like autistic children who
you might think they're not learning from watching something, but they are. You know what I mean? Where we could have just, like I was talking about with the apps, where they're scrolling through apps. That you might think, oh, they're just scrolling through apps. They're learning their ABCs. He might be 10 years old, autistic, and he doesn't speak anything, but he's learning his ABCs, and he knows what that is now.
Paul.
Yes.
Paul, what's your first best and brightest idea you brought to share?
Well, there's so many things that we can talk about, but I'll stick with education because education is critically important. One of the old standbys for Republicans is trying to get school choice in. And that has a lot of resistance because the people who are struggling to make ends meet, who have to work 2 jobs, cannot be directly engaged with their children's education as well, don't tend to take advantage of that and tend to get left behind. Now, Republicans tend to think, let's do this and we will create competition. The best students will go to where the best schools are. The schools that have less and less people going to it will struggle to keep up and have an incentive. I would like to offer a slight modification to that idea, and that is, instead of the money going with the children, make 50% of the money go with the children. That way, every child that is moved out of a school district into another school district increases the money available for the children that are left. That would tend to allow this to go to private schools, parochial schools, charter schools, whatever place that education is, but the money, 50% of it goes. Then the schools will be able to say, okay, we may not have this child and that child and that child who kept our statistical numbers higher, but we've got more money to be able to give to the education of the children that have stayed in this school. So just a simple mathematical rearrangement of where the money is allocated rather than the child goes to school and the money goes, and then what's the advantage of the schools, what's to help the schools that are left behind, rather than relying strictly on competition.
Thank you. Ray, how